By the winter of 1948, the balance of power in northern China had moved in favor of the Communist People's Liberation Army. As the Communist Fourth Field Army led by Lin Biao and Liu Rongyuan entered the North China Plain after the end of the Pingjin Campaign, the nationalist government in Nanjing decided to abandon Chengdu, Boding, the Shanhai Pass, and Qinhuangdao, and withdraw the remaining nationalist troops to Beijing, Tianjin and Jiangjiakou, and consolidate the defense in these garrisons. The nationalists were hoping to preserve their strength and reinforce Suzhou where another major campaign was underway, or alternatively to retreat to the nearby Suiyuan province if necessary. In preparations for the campaign, the People's Liberation Army halted the advance of First Field Army toward Taiyuan. The attack on Hohhot were also held back as the Third Field Army was being deployed from Jining District toward Beijing. On November 29, 1948, the People's Liberation Army launched an assault on Jiangjiakou. General Fu Zhuoyi immediately ordered the nationalist 35th Army in Beijing and the 104th Army in Huailai to reinforce the city. On December 2, the PLA 2nd Field Army began to approach Zhoulu. The PLA 4th Field Army captured Mun on December 5, and advanced toward Huailai. Meanwhile the 2nd Field Army advanced to the south of Zhoulu. As Beijing was at risk of being encircled, General Fu recalled both the 35th Army and the 104th Army from Jiangjiakou to return and support the defense of Beijing before they were surrounded by the PLA. On their return from Jiangjiakou, the nationalist 35th Army found themselves encircled by the communist forces in Xinbaoan. The nationalists' reinforcements from Beijing were intercepted by the communist forces and were unable to reach the city. As the situation got worse, Fu Zhuoyi tried to negotiate secretly with the Chinese Communist Party on December 14, 1948. Negotiations were terminated by the CCP on December 19. The PLA then launched an assault against the city on December 21, and captured the city on the evening of December 22. The commander of the 35th Army Go Jingyun committed suicide as the communist entered the city, and remaining nationalist forces were destroyed as they attempted to retreat back to Jiangjiakou. After capturing both Jiangjiakou and Xinbaoan, the PLA began to move troops around the Tianjin area beginning on January 2, 1949. Immediately after the conclusion of Huaihai campaign in the south, the PLA launched the final assault on Tianjin on January 14. After 29 hours of fighting, the nationalist 62nd Army and 86th Army, a total of 130,000 men across 10 divisions, were either killed or taken prisoner, including the nationalist commander Chen Changji. The remaining nationalist troops from the 17th Army Group and the 87th Army that survived the battle retreated south on January 17 by sea. After the fall of Tianjin to the Communists, the nationalist garrison in Beijing was isolated. Fu Zhuoyi came to the decision to negotiate a peace settlement on January 21. Through the next week, 260,000 nationalist troops began to withdraw from the city in anticipation of the surrender. On January 31, 1949, the PLA's 4th Field Army entered Beijing to take over the city, which marked the conclusion of the campaign. The Chinese Civil War itself would effectively end on Saturday, October 1, 1949, with the establishment of the People's Republic of China. The remnants of the Kuomintang nationalists would flee to Taiwan with Chiang Kai-shek, where they remained to the by